and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and in this video I'll be working with another Digi stamp. This one was provided to me by Passionate Paper Creations and Friends. If you've never heard of them, they are a really fun Facebook group that is all about paper creations, coloring, card making, and it's just a really fun community to share your creations with. So I'll leave a link to that Facebook group in the description box below. It's a private group, but you can just hit join and somebody will let you in. We are a very fun, welcoming group, and you are sure to get lots of encouragement and just a fun community to interact with. So I'm going to start off by ink blending my background, and had a little bit of a happy accident because I thought I grabbed a clean brush, but it turned out not to be clean. So this background did end up being darker than I originally intended. I think I had a little bit of Blueprint Sketch or Chip Sapphire, but I ended up with a little bit of a darker blue than I was anticipating because I was really going for a daytime scene. But with that darker blue, I think we're transitioning more into nighttime. But I think in the end, I like it better than what I originally kind of saw in my mind. So, sometimes these accidents happen and you just run with them and you end up with something that you like even better. So I'm going to pull out some white gouache. This is a really concentrated watercolor paint, and I'm going to test it out on this background panel, which is where I must have used that brush before. But to create that panel, I just used a sort of an ink smushing technique, and I wasn't sure which panel I wanted to use for this background, but this is the one I ultimately go with. And the paint color that I'm using is the titanium dioxide white, so it's a very opaque, bright white. And so now onto my coloring. So I'm going to color this image with my alcohol markers, and I use Ohuhu markers because they are very affordable. And so for my sort of skill level, I feel like affordability is probably a good bet. I wish I could afford Copics, but I just don't know that I can really, spend that kind of money on a coloring medium that I'm not super great at yet. But I am definitely having a lot of fun practicing, and these markers, I think, give me great results. At least I'm happy with it, and I think when coloring, that's really the ultimate test, is if you are happy with the end results. And what I actually did was, even though I'm editing this in a slightly different order than the actual order that I did it in, I colored this bit in first because when I sat down to start making this card, I just wanted to color and have some fun coloring. And so I just picked out the elements of this image that I felt like wouldn't change regardless of what background I was going to put this image on top of. At the time, I wasn't sure if I was going to use some pattern papers or if I was going to ink blend a background, so I just picked out the colors I knew were going to be pretty safe, like they were going to be that color regardless of what background I used. And then I was going to go back and color the rest once I had the background all sorted out. And so the way that I like to do my alcohol marker coloring is I generally go in with my mid-tone color, and here's where I pick up my coloring once I've decided on my background. And I'll start with the mid-tone or the darkest, just depending on how confident I am about where the shadows are. and then I'll go from dark to light, essentially. And when I go over with the lightest color, I do blend that over the entire area that I'm coloring to get a nice even blend, because your lightest color marker will have more alcohol in it than the darker colors, and it's the alcohol that helps to really blend your colors together. And so when you, at least the way the Who's seem to behave is when I go over with my lightest marker, it definitely helps to smooth out all of those transitions. And so if, though, that ends up making the darkest areas a little bit too light because alcohol and things like your blending marker, it does tend to bleach out darker colors. So if I find that my shadows then get a little bit too light, then I'll go back in with the darkest markers again. So that's all just, played by ear, really, depending on how the final image looks. And because I had that little happy accident with the darker blue that has a little bit of a purplish tone to it, I decided to make my car purple. And I didn't want that to be the only bit of purple on this image, and so I used that same purple to color the bows on the presents. And otherwise, because the scene is this really nice blue, I decided to go with teal for the scarf on one of the mice, and then pink on the other. And then I picked up those exact same colors in the presents as well. So that way, I don't introduce too many colors into the scene, and everything feels like it's kind of tied together. The last little bit of detail was to put, using a white Jelly Roll pen, just that little bit of sort of specular highlight. And I don't know exactly where those are supposed to go. I just put them wherever I want. So at some point, maybe I'll figure out or learn from somebody how to identify where those are meant to go, but I just put them where I think I like to see them. And I think that when you're coloring your images, you are kind of your audience, and so I think do what makes you happy and what looks good to your eyes. Now, I did go in with a very, very, very light blue-gray marker, and that little bit of white outline that I left around the entire image when I did my fussy cutting, I actually colored in that space with a very, very light blue-gray marker. And that's a tip that I learned from watching Crafter's Companion videos. I think Craig does it all the time. And it's a tip that I wasn't convinced of until I tried it. And it's really cool because it really does clean up your image. And if you got a little bit of some stray marks outside the line, because the really, really light colors have a lot of alcohol in them, it can actually help to kind of push some of that color back into the image. And also, it just takes away that bright, bright white of the border. Now, you could always just, when you do your fussy cutting, cut right up to the line. I'm not the best fussy cutter, and I didn't think to bring this into my Cricut and cut it out, or do the print and cut option. So I did have to hand cut it. But if you do that, you can always use that trick that Craig taught us from Crafter's Companion, and add that really, really light blue-gray or gray all the way around the border, and it really just helps that image kind of pop a little bit, and it cleans up the image a little bit too. So this is my final card. I know it's really simple, but I love it because it's just really, really cute. This image, the two mice in their car. Again, the Digi stamp is from Digi's, and it's actually called Driving Home for Christmas. The Season's Greetings is a die cut from Sizzix. So I'll leave links to everything in the description box below. So if you're curious to check any of that out, feel free to do so. Thanks again, and if you like this video, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. And if you want to catch new videos as I publish them, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Thanks so much, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!